Hey guys, welcome back to Urban Legend Hunter. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you enjoy these stories. Now let's get into it. I work for the county road department here in southern West Virginia, and part of my job is checking culverts and drainage tunnels after heavy rain. So, back in late 2021, we got a complaint about a storm drain under a 2-lane highway. People said it smelled like something dead was in there. Normally, we just find raccoons and deer, sometimes trash blocking the flow, but nothing really out of the ordinary. The entrance is one of those concrete tunnels that goes underground, maybe 5 or 6 feet tall. Now, I've been in dozens of these just like this, and I went in alone, which isn't normally unusual. It was just mid-morning, bright out, quiet. About 30 feet in, I noticed something kind of odd. Thin strands across the wall. Now, these weren't like normal spider webs. Thicker, like fishing line or dental floss. I kind of figured it'd mess around with fishing string or something, so I just kind of kept going. But the smell got worse, so I followed the water deeper inside, maybe 60 or 70 feet. And that's when I noticed the ground was sort of tacky, like stepping on old tape or glue residue. And that was the first thing that made me actually stop and pay attention. Then on the right side of the tunnel, just past the bend, I saw it. What looked like a possum, maybe a raccoon, except it wasn't rotting normally. It was kind of wrapped in something. Not tight like a cocoon, but like someone had dragged thin strands over it. No bugs on it. Its eyes were gone. Now, I don't know why, but the first thing I thought of was someone put it there as a prank. Then I saw more of those strands. Above me, crossing the ceiling and the walls. Too big for normal spiders, but too thin and uneven to be man-made wire or rope. The air felt heavy, quiet. All I could hear was the water dripping. I took one more step forward and heard something. And it wasn't loud, just soft, like this dry shifting sound, like something light brushing against the concrete. So I swung my flashlight ahead. I don't know how to describe it without sounding crazy. Something moved out of the beam, fast, up towards the top of the edge of the tunnel wall. It didn't get a good look at it. All I saw was something brownish, low to the ground at first, then just gone. No growl, no hiss, nothing like that, just the sound of those strands brushing against something solid. And that's when I realized those strands weren't random. Some of them were anchored into cracks in the concrete. Some formed almost straight lines. It looked intentional. I backed out slowly. I didn't run, but I didn't touch anything either. I reported animal remains, possible structural hazard. I recommended sealing it up. They welded a grate over it a week later. Now, I'm not saying it was a giant spider or anything like that. Maybe it was just a big animal dragging things in. But I've crawled through drains for over 10 years, and I've seen webbing never like that in my life, or anything move like that in silence. Sometimes I drive over that stretch of road and just wonder how deep that tunnel actually goes. I work for a small township in southern West Virginia. Maintenance, inspections, sealing off unsafe structures. Back in early 2023, we got a request from the county sheriff's office to go out to an abandoned coal mine just outside of town. It had been welded shut years ago because kids kept sneaking in, but someone had recently cut the gate open. The sheriff didn't say this officially, but everyone knew why they wanted it sealed. There was a local homeless man named Alan, and he had been seen camping there near the tracks in that area. He had gone missing, though, about 2 weeks earlier. Nobody filed a formal report, but the gas station clerk said he used to come in every morning, and then suddenly he just stopped showing up. They wanted to make sure nobody was inside the mine or hurt before sealing it up again. It was me and another guy, Josh. We brought welding gear, flashlights, and masks because of dust and possible bad air. The entrance was about 8 feet tall, framed with old timbers, and the steel grate had been clearly cut. At the bottom, it wasn't clean anymore. It was more like someone used a cheap saw or a grinder, just enough to crawl under. We called out a few times before going in, just in case someone was living in there. But no response, no movement, just dripping water is all we could hear. Inside the entrance, there were signs someone had been staying there. A broken lawn chair, a couple cans of beans, a blanket rolled up against the wall. But here's the thing. The blanket was stiff, almost like it had been left outside in the winter and then dried hard. When I got closer, I realized why there were thin white strands over it. Not thick like a rope, just layered, like someone had sprayed glue and let it just sit there. It covered part of the chair, too. None of it made any sense to me. We walked about 30 feet in, and the air got cooler. But the smell just kept getting worse. Not like rot, more like iron and wet stone. Josh was up ahead when he stopped and pointed his light at the ceiling. It looked like cobwebs at first, but stretched wide from beam to beam, like someone was trying to reinforce the ceiling with string. Some hung down in triangles like hammocks. One of them had this stuff in it, small bones, maybe from a bird or a bat, maybe more. And I was just thinking, what kind of spider makes webs like that? We didn't go any further than the first turn. The mine goes deep. Miles underground. We weren't there to explore, just to make sure no one was inside before sealing this place off. But something just felt off. Like we were being too loud, even though we weren't even really talking. Before we left, I spotted a boot near the wall. It was muddy, old, tied tight, and inside was a sock. Inside the sock was a foot bone. Part of one. I didn't say anything. I just stared at it. There was no blood, no chewing, just hollowed out. We backed out and called the sheriff. We didn't touch anything else. They didn't send a forensic team or anything. They just told us to weld the gate shut again and add more steel. And that's exactly what we did. And I'm not saying what happened to Alan. Maybe animals dragged stuff in. Maybe someone else was staying there with him. All I know is, I've been in a lot of abandoned places, and I've seen webs that thick. Never in my life. Or so many bones stacked quietly in corners like someone was storing them. That mine is sealed off again, this time tighter. But sometimes I think about the blanket. Stiff. Like something had tried to cover it up instead of eat it. My girlfriend and I like camping. Nothing extreme. Just weekend stuff. This happened last spring in Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia. We're about 2 miles from the nearest trail. Just a flat spot near a creek where we'd camped once before. Around midnight, a storm rolled in. No warning on the radar. Just sudden wind and hard rain. Our tent started to leak at one of the seams and the wind nearly snapped one of our poles. The creek beside us was rising fast. So we decided to get out and open and, just try to find temporary shelter until it passed. About 200 yards in, uphill, I remembered the shallow rock overhang that we noticed earlier in the day. When we got there, we realized it wasn't just an overhang. It went deeper. Not a full cave, but deep enough. You couldn't see the back with just moonlight. We weren't trying to explore it, just step inside far enough to get out of the rain and fix the tent pole. So I turned on my flashlight, and the walls were damp and covered in this strange pale fungus. The floor was mostly dirt and rock. Then I saw something that made me hesitate. thin strands across the ground near the entrance. At first, I thought fishing line or roots, but when I pointed the light closer, I saw more of it stretched along the walls. Not thick like rope again, but thinner, but strong looking. It clung to the rock like someone had sprayed glue in the lines. So my girlfriend says to me, she's like, let's hurry up and fix the tent pole and just get out of here. So we crouched just inside, back to the wall, working on the snap pole. The rain outside was so loud, we could barely hear each other outside. Then I heard something behind us. Not loud, just a soft clicking sound, like dry leaves brushing against stone. But inside, not outside. I turned the flashlight into the deeper part of the cave, and for a second, I thought it was just a rock or a shadow. Until it moved. It was pale, off-white or gray, not hairy, smooth-looking, and at first I only saw part of it, like two long legs pressed against the wall. Then it shifted again, and I saw the body, round, maybe the size of a small dog. It wasn't massive, but way too big to be normal. My girlfriend saw it too. She was about to scream, and I didn't answer because, I didn't know. Its legs made no sound when it moved. It didn't come towards us. It just stayed there, halfway up the wall, like if it was deciding if we were a threat or not. We were terrified, and that's when my light hit something on the ground near it. Bones, small ones, rabbits maybe, something wrapped in the same thin white material we had seen on the walls. I only remember standing up. We walked, didn't run, but we walked back into the rain. The storm didn't matter anymore. Our tent, our gear, everything, we just left it. We hiked to the car with just our packs and drove to a motel in town at 2 a.m. Now, I've tried to explain this to myself. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe it was just some kind of big albino tarantula or something. I've seen things before like that, but I still can picture how quiet it was. How its body didn't shine like fur, more like this damp skin. It just watched us. We went back days later in the daylight to get our tent and gear. We found our campsite. We never reported it. Never told a ranger station. I don't even know what I would even say. All I know is I don't go in the caves anymore. Not even shallow ones.